latest information regarding a highly coveted Japanese starting pitcher. What's the latest on the teams lining up to get involved with Kodai Senga?
Yes, Matt, I do believe, and we talked about Verlander off the top of the show and where Verlander's market could go, that Senga will be among that next group to sign. And one team that's heavily involved in the Senga market, I am told, the San Francisco Giants. Now, not a surprise. We knew the Giants were going to be heavily involved in free agency overall. As we know, they're very certainly involved in number 99, Aaron Judge, talking with him. But on the pitching side of things, with Carlos Rodon now a free agent, if they don't re-sign Rodon, and they don't seem to necessarily be all that solidly in the Verlander market, Senga is likely that next key piece for them to pursue. And, of course, he is a full free agent now. There's no posting process needed, which means there's no financial component in addition to the contract itself, nor is there draft picks worried about here with respect to Senga. So I think in general, Matt, Senga is someone that is going to be very broadly appealing to a lot of different teams. And I think to bring it back to Judge for a moment, if Aaron Judge is going to sign with the Giants, there's going to have to be a component of that says, yes, I realize financially it's there and it's his home state, his hometown team, all those reasons. But what are our chances to win now? He would be leaving a team that made it to the ALCS. The Giants missed the playoffs entirely. And I think that for the Giants to sign Aaron Judge, that cannot be the culmination of their offseason moves, but rather the first big step. And that's where I think a Kodai Senga conversation would be really important just for the roster, but also to help them complete the sales pitch to bring Aaron Judge back to California.
Can you imagine him in the San Francisco market, as strong of a Japanese following that market has? You know, I watched him pitch, and when got a chance to look at a lot of the video. Fastball's explosive, it runs. The splits is out pitch. He's got a nice curveball. I was a little bit alarmed in how much contact guys made. He got him out, but guys put the ball in play. I thought I'd see a lot more swing and miss than I did watching the couple games that I did watch him pitch. I thought it was alarming. I thought it was interesting.
I think their team's lined up. It's not just the Giants involved with Kodai Senga. That'll be fun to watch what happens there. Fun to watch what happens with some of these free agent outfielders as well. Particularly interesting is the case of Michael Conforto, who sat out 2022, didn't play last year, tried to get healthy, wants to come back. There are a lot of places online, destinations online, that have identified maybe a one-year deal for Conforto to try to reestablish his long-term value. Is that what you see for him? And if so, what are some cities and teams involved?
It is, Matt, and let's begin with the health component. I was told by a source yesterday that Conforto was really back to full baseball activity, that the rehab portion of that shoulder surgery is effectively done. So he'd be considered as a fully healthy player for spring training. He should not have any restrictions by the time you get there. Now, to your point, I totally agree. A one-year deal for a still relatively young player is a really appealing way to do that and then step out into the free agent market a year from now again. And one team, and Harold knows this well,
Diego, kicking the can down the road on the PED guys is the contemporary era ballot. And that's going to be Monday at the winter meetings. That announcement will be scheduled for Monday, so we'll have that live.
So they're looking into it now. They will give us an announcement on who goes in.
Right.
At the winter meetings.
Monday. We'll learn the results of that contemporary era ballot, and it's trending really well for Fred McGriff, by the way. So we'll see about that.
I think Fred's the easiest of the group.
Yeah,
Mattingly,
right.
You have debate. Did he play long enough? All that other stuff. For me, Donnie's in. But I think when you look at Fred McGriff, he had, 493 home runs, 17, 18 years without ever being on the disabled list. Every team wanted. I think that's the easiest of all the guys that they're looking at in that time. No steroid connections, none of that stuff. He's easy.
I want to clarify that. The results are going to be announced on Sunday night, so we'll be reacting to that on Monday on Hot Stove. We'll be the first show to react to that stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun on Monday morning. So let's take a break. When we come back, Keith Costas reached this year, and we've landed on the Milwaukee Brewers today, Keith.
Yeah, sometimes, guys, we go searching for something with some symbolism or a needle in a haystack for these highs and lows. Sometimes it's very straightforward with just the literal high and low watermarks, and that was really the only option we had for the Brewers. You go back to Memorial Day. You know, people talk about that's when the standings start to really matter, when you look up and see where you're at around the end of May. And on Memorial Day, they went to Chicago. You see Josh Hader on the mound getting the save in both ends of a doubleheader to sweep that doubleheader with the Cubs. And at that point in the season, that first kind of polling spot, they were right there with the big dogs in the sport, the three big market teams ahead of them, the Astros, the juggernaut of the sport right now right below them. So they were right there on pace with the best teams in the sport, and it was actually their best 50-game start in the history of the franchise. But guys, the low point, it feels like Josh Hader's been involved in just about all of these highs and lows that we've done, and he was certainly involved with the low for the Brewers when they went ahead and dealt him. And it was obvious right away with the sound coming out of that clubhouse how the team felt about it, Devin Williams being the main spokesperson.
I don't really have a lot to say, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Just because it's part of the business and surprise or?
Yeah, I was surprised.
So guys, they were still in good position to try and make a run at the playoffs at that point, but from that point forward, you see the note on the bottom, no team blew more saves after the deadline than the Brewers.
It was hard to watch, Keith.
It was hard to watch, and you see some of those guys they picked up. Matt Bush, 4 blown saves in August, obviously not all in the 9th inning, he's not the closer. Taylor Rogers, 3 of them in September and October, and Trevor Rosenthal, who was nearing a return after missing a couple years, never got on the mound after a lat injury. And you look at the graph here, their playoff odds, you don't have to figure out what happened here. The trade deadline is that last peak, and just straight down from there, guys.
Wow. Yeah, they were in first place, Keith, 95 days on the calendar from opening day on. 95 days they spent in first place. They fizzled down the stretch, as you mentioned, despite the fact that Brandon Woodruff was an animal down the stretch and kind of asserted himself as one of the great right-handers in the game, certainly in the National League. I would say this, too. I think their highs and lows could be documented in the performance of just one guy. And it's been said so often about the Brewers and their lineup, as goes Christian Yelich, so go the Brewers. Yelich hit for the cycle in Cincinnati in May. Looked like that was a personal high point for him. Yet the overall body of work still kind of fell short of what he did in 2018 and in parts of 2019. He hasn't been the same guy since the COVID season, since the lockout. And, man, there's still a lot of money and hope invested in Christian Yelich being able to find himself in 2018 form again.
Comes down to being healthy. You know, I mean, clearly the back.
Yeah.
Reminds me so much of Don Mattingly's story, where the back injury is such an impact, especially in our sport, that he has not been the same because of the back injury.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's getting healthy because he's one of the great guys in the game.
Brewers are always interesting and under new management next year, as we talked about with David Stearns leaving the organization. Still a lot of smart people running that thing, and nobody smarter than Craig Counsell. So I'm sure he'll find a way to keep them relevant again moving forward. Keith, thank you. We're going to take a break.